Welcome, everyone. Ready to dive deep into entity management?
Always ready to dive in.
Excellent. This time, we're dissecting some fascinating stuff from Athenian's 2025 Global Entity Management Report.
Yeah, it's not just some boring corporate report, though.
Oh, absolutely not. We're talking insights from over 100 pros who live and breathe entity management every single day.
Real-world experience. That's where the good stuff is.
Exactly. And right off the bat, they hit us with a stat that kind of blew my mind. 67% of businesses are managing entities in 3 or more regions.
Wow, that's a lot to juggle.
Seriously. Makes you think about your own work, right? Seeing that global reach everywhere.
Oh, for sure. And it just means compliance is getting more and more tangled, no matter what industry you're in.
It's true. So what are some of the biggest challenges that this multi-jurisdictional trend creates?
Well, think about it. You're trying to keep up with regulations that are constantly changing, but they're different in each country.
Ugh, a compliance nightmare.
Right. And then you've got to somehow keep everything consistent across all those operations.
Not just the regulations, but processes too.
Exactly. That's a tough one when you're dealing with different legal systems and cultures.
And to make matters worse, the report points out that most compliance teams are incredibly small.
Yeah, often just 1 to 3 people handling everything. Can you imagine the pressure?
I can't even fathom it.
They're basically drowning in deadlines and just trying to keep up with the basics. No time for anything proactive or strategic.
So we've got this perfect storm brewing, increasing complexity, limited resources, and constant pressure to do more with less.
And that's why so many companies are looking to technology for help. But here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay, lay it on me.
The report found that 84% of organizations have adopted some kind of entity management software.
Okay, that makes sense. So problem solved, right?
Well, not so fast. Here's the kicker. 45% of those same organizations are unhappy with the tools they have.
Wait, what? They're investing in tech, but it's not actually helping.
It's like buying a shiny new car that just won't start.
So frustrating. What's going wrong?
Well, it boils down to a few things. The interfaces are often clunky and hard to use.
I've definitely been there.
There's a steep learning curve, and the software often doesn't integrate well with other systems.
Right, and without that automation and smooth integration, companies aren't getting the functionality they really need.
Exactly. They're stuck with these outdated, clunky systems that just aren't cutting it.
I bet a lot of our listeners are nodding their heads right now, feeling that tech disappointment. But what happens when companies get stuck in that cycle?
The report doesn't hold back. It lays out the consequences.
Uh-oh, and I'm guessing they're not good.
Not pretty at all. First, you've got the risk of compliance errors.
Which can lead to?
Hefty fines and serious damage to your reputation.
Ouch. And what happens when your internal teams can't keep up?
They often have to call in expensive outside counsel for help.
Like calling a plumber every time the faucet leaks. Sure, it fixes the immediate problem, but
It's not a sustainable solution. You need the right infrastructure to prevent those leaks from happening in the first place.
exactly. And on top of all that, these outdated systems just don't scale well.
Nope. As businesses grow, their needs get more complex, and those old systems can't keep up.
It's like trying to build a skyscraper on a foundation of sand. You're doomed to fail. So how do companies escape this trap?
Well, the report points to a technology with the potential to completely revolutionize entity management. Artificial intelligence.
AI. Everyone's talking about it.
Yeah.
But is it really a game changer or just hype?
This is more than just hype. It's already happening. The report found that 47% of legal teams are already using AI for compliance.
Wow, so it's not some distant future thing.
Not at all, and another 39% are planning to implement it soon.
Interesting. So what are some of the concrete ways AI is being used?
Well, it's not just about automating simple tasks like data entry. We're talking AI that can analyze thousands of documents to catch potential compliance risks that humans might miss.
That's amazing. Instead of constantly playing catch-up, legal teams can use AI to anticipate and address problems before they even pop up.
Exactly. It's about being proactive and staying one step ahead. That's right. It really shifts the way they work, moving from reactive to proactive and strategic.
And the report actually has some really cool case studies about companies that have gone all in on AI-powered entity management solutions.
Oh, yeah. Those are always my favorite.
There was this one about a global financial services firm. They were struggling to keep up with all the regulations, drowning in paperwork, missing deadlines.
Sounds familiar. I bet a lot of our listeners can relate to that.
Definitely. And they were under a ton of scrutiny from regulators. So what did they do?
Well, they decided to go big and implement a full-blown AI-powered entity management platform.
Ooh, that's a big move. Did it pay off?
Big time. The platform automated a bunch of their manual processes and gave them real-time compliance monitoring.
So they were always in the loop.
Always. And get this, they managed to slash their compliance errors by a whopping 90%.
90%? That's incredible.
It is. And their legal team finally had the breathing room to focus on bigger picture projects.
I bet their bottom line is thanking them for that decision. Did the report mention anything about cost savings?
Oh, yeah. They saved millions of dollars in fines and legal fees.
Wow, that's a powerful testament to the impact AI can have, not just theoretical, real bottom-line results.
Absolutely. It shows how AI can actually add value to a business, not just make things a bit easier.
And it sounds like this wasn't just a fluke. The report mentions similar successes in all sorts of industries.
Yeah, from healthcare to tech to energy, they're all facing different problems, but AI was able to adapt and offer solutions.
That's really impressive. It sounds like AI isn't just a buzzword. It's a real game changer for how companies manage their legal entities.
Yeah.
What do you think this means for the companies that are dragging their feet on adopting AI?
Well, the report makes a strong case that the early adopters are going to have a serious edge. They'll be able to operate more smoothly, avoid risk more effectively, and ultimately just be more successful.
Like the old saying, the early bird gets the worm. But in this case, they're getting a lot more than just a worm.
That's a good way to put it. It's about making smart investments in tech that will pay off big time down the road.
So we've covered the risks of sticking with old tech and the benefits of AI solutions. But there's one more thing I'm curious about. The report mentioned AI playing a role in ESG reporting, which is becoming a big deal for companies.
It is. ESG stands for environmental, social, and governance. And it's basically a set of standards that investors and the public use to assess a company's commitment to sustainability and ethical practices.
So it's like a report card on how responsible a company is.
Exactly. And as you can imagine, keeping track of all these factors across a whole organization is a huge undertaking.
And that's where AI comes in.
Right. AI can help gather and analyze data related to a company's environmental impact, social responsibility efforts, and how they're governed.
So it can show where they need to improve and track their progress.
Exactly. And ultimately help them create these comprehensive, transparent ESG reports.
It sounds like AI isn't just about compliance. It's also about helping companies show they're serious about sustainability and social responsibility.
It is, and this is where it gets really interesting. Imagine a world where AI helps companies go beyond just compliance, and they actually become leaders in ethical and sustainable practices.
It sounds like AI is really pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
It is, and one of the most exciting things is that it's constantly learning and improving.
So as it gets more data and the algorithms get better, it'll be able to do even more for companies.
Exactly. It's a rapidly evolving field, and anyone involved in entity management needs to stay informed and be ready to adapt to the changes.
It's like the Wild West out there. Okay, but before we get too lost in the future of AI, let's bring it back to the here and now. For our listeners who are thinking about making the move to AI-powered solutions, what advice do you have for them?
That's a great question. I think the first thing is to figure out what you really need. What are your biggest pain points with entity management? Where are the inefficiencies and risks? Once you have a good handle on that, you can start looking at the different AI solutions out there and see which ones might be a good fit for your organization.
So it's like any big purchase. Do your homework, compare options, and find the best fit for your specific situation.
Exactly. And just like buying a car, implementing AI takes some investment. It's not just the software costs, but also the time and resources to actually set it up, train your team, and make it work with your existing systems.
So it's not a decision to take lightly. But if it's done right, the potential benefits are huge.
Definitely. And one last piece of advice. Be patient. AI is powerful, but it's not magic. It takes time to set up, learn, and make it work at its best.
So playing the long game and understanding it's a journey, not a quick fix.
Exactly. And like with any new technology, there will be bumps in the road. But if you go into it with a clear plan, a willingness to learn, and a focus on getting better all the time, you can really unlock AI's potential.
Well said. This deep dive has been really insightful.
It has. And I think a key takeaway is that entity management is only getting more complex. But the technology and tools are evolving too, which is exciting.
Absolutely. And the companies that embrace AI, understand its potential, and use it strategically will be the ones that really thrive in this new era of entity management.
Couldn't agree more.
We've covered a ton of ground in this deep dive: the challenges, the opportunities in entity management, and how AI is shaking things up.
It really has been a fascinating conversation, and I think the big takeaway for me is that even though entity management is getting more and more complex, the tech, the tools, they're evolving too to help companies stay ahead of the game.
Couldn't agree more. And one thing that really hit home for me is the need to be proactive. It's not enough anymore to just react to changes in regulations or compliance rules.
It's not. You've got to anticipate what's coming and be ready to adapt.
Exactly. And that's where tech like AI can be such a game changer. Imagine a system that's constantly watching the regulatory landscape, flagging potential risks, alerting you to changes that could impact your business.
It's like having a 247 compliance watchdog, making sure you're always a step ahead of the curve.
I love that analogy. And it's not just about staying on the right side of the law. It's about using technology to make your operations better and more efficient.
Absolutely. AI can automate those boring, repetitive tasks, streamline processes, and free up your legal team to focus on strategic stuff.
Working smarter, not harder. I think our listeners can definitely get behind that. So for those who are ready to jump in and start exploring AI-powered solutions, what advice would you give them?
Well, first things first, do your homework. There are a lot of different solutions out there, so you really need to understand what your specific needs are.
Figure out what you're trying to achieve and what your budget looks like.
Right. It's like buying a car. You wouldn't just walk into a dealership and buy the first one you see.
You do your research, compare models, see what fits your lifestyle and needs.
Exactly. And just like buying a car, implementing AI takes an investment. Not just the cost of the software, but the time and resources it takes to implement it, train your team, and integrate it into your existing systems.
So it's not a decision to be made lightly, but if it's done right, the rewards can be significant.
For sure. And one last piece of advice I'd give is to be patient. AI is a powerful tool, but it's not magic. It takes time to implement, learn, and really get the most out of it.
Don't expect miracles overnight. It's about the long game, understanding that this is a journey, not a quick fix.
Well said.
This deep dive has given us so much to think about: the changing landscape of entity management, the challenges of global compliance, the potential of AI to transform everything, and the importance of staying ahead of the curve in this constantly evolving world.
I completely agree. It's been fantastic discussing all this with you.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We encourage everyone to check out Athenian's 2025 Global Entity Management Report for themselves. It's full of great insights and practical advice for anyone involved in entity management.
It really is a must-read.
And remember, the future of entity management is in your hands. Embrace change, stay curious, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible. Until next time, stay informed and stay ahead of the curve.